Hey everybody, welcome to Buzzworthy Business, sponsored by Seaside Bank and Trust. I'm your host, Jesse Stakes, and today I have Greg Christopher from Mambu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jesse. Happy to be here.
So first off, Mambu, what is Mambu?
So Mambu is a cloud banking software that helps powers banks and lenders' back office data.
So you're essentially, your customers are banks.
Yep.
And you're white labeling a service to multiple financial institutions so they can offer digital banking, correct?
Correct. We definitely connect much easier to digital banks than legacy providers. So when you walk into a financial institution, you go online to a non-bank lender, what the employee at that institution, when they pull up your profile, that's our software.
And so for our customers or for people that are out there listening to this right now, what that means is security, someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to creating software and making sure that your information and your data is never breached, correct?
Yeah, we're a cloud native platform, so we are born and built in the cloud. We utilize AWS, Microsoft Azure, and GCP, which is Google Cloud. So we do have a lot of data privacy and protection as well built in, rather than having an on-premise system that some of these older institutions would have, where you have to kind of protect and be the security around that system.
Right, and that also creates redundancy for customers to where if somebody's bank happens to go down in a certain area, if their server farm goes down in one area, you guys have redundancy, and they're up in a matter of seconds rather than days or hours.
Yeah. A lot of our stuff is hosted in North Virginia. If you're utilizing AWS, if that server farm goes down, customers wouldn't even notice it because there's so many backups. So
the other thing that you and I were talking about off camera is embedded financing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a foreign term for most people. But tell our audience, for them, what is embedded financing?
So embedded finance is definitely one of the hot topics right now in fintech, but it actually has been around for a while. When you went on Delta or American Airlines or Best Buy, you purchased your flight, you purchased an electronic, and then they gave you the option to open up a credit card with that company. That is embedded finance. But embedded finance has definitely taken on a new role with buy now, pay later. So we see companies like a Best Buy or a Target where you purchase something, you do not have to have a credit card, but you can pay it in 4 installments or something along that line. So it's starting to transform more into offering even more financial products from companies that aren't, banks or lending companies.
Sure. Well, and as inflation and everything else drives the price of everything higher, it allows people to spread those payments over time, giving them more buying power.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely frees up some of the cash flow that some folks are experiencing with inflation. And if you need, for example, if you need to replace an appliance, you can go to Best Buy and you can do the 18-month financing where you just make those payments over the next 18 months. That's the definition basically of embedded finance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's switch gears a little bit and let's actually talk about Mambu as a company.
Yeah.
You guys are not a new company, but you're fairly new to the United States, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we've been around for a little over a decade now. We started in Berlin. We have our operations headquarter in Amsterdam. We've had a U.S. team now for about 2 years. So pretty new here in the U.S., but we have a very good global presence in the European region, in APAC, in the LATAM region. We're still very new here in the U.S. And what we really wanted to do was take this unique model, which is what we call the composable ecosystem. So instead of providing a bank all these different types of solutions, we're using what we call best of breed technologies to build out the ecosystem. So what we did was we really wanted to kind of test this model around the globe before we entered probably the most saturated and competitive market that is the U.S. when it comes to financial services.
No doubt. Have there been any unforeseen challenges in entering the U.S. that you guys didn't think about?
Yeah, I would say that. The ecosystem's unique. So when I talk to a bank, they'll usually say, okay, when I pull up that customer profile, that's great. We can see that. When I want to make a new loan product to offer my customers, that's great. I can see that. But we don't have connections to any types of like the Fed or any types of ACH transactions. We utilize a partner for that. We don't offer the digital side. So I'm a customer of Seaside Bank. When I log on to the web, that would be that's not Mambu. That would be whoever you're using for the front end. So it's unique because banks are used to being provided basically their entire cake baked ready. Yes. And we're saying, no, we're just giving you one ingredient and then you're going to build it out. And the reason why a lot of folks would say, okay, this is an interesting value proposition is because now you're kind of building your bank for change rather than saying, okay, we need to partner with a technology company that's going to provide us the best solution for the next 10 years. Well, nobody can really predict the next 10 years.
Well, and 10 years is a lot shorter time frame than it used to be when it comes to technology.
Exactly. So it's better to kind of have different almost slithers of your technology stack. So that way you can then change one out if some new game-changing technology comes around, instead of being hooked into this end-to-end system.
It makes a lot of sense because, as you said, there's a lot of things that change very quickly in banking, in technology in general. So if it allows you to stay nimble, if it allows you to continue to give your customers best-in-class service and a best-in-class technology, you're better for it. Yeah.
The analogy to kind of really bring it down to layman's terms that I always explain to folks is it's similar to having a kind of a DirecTV cable box or satellite box in your home. Very difficult to put Netflix on there or HBO Max. You can do it. You can pay someone to kind of build a internet connector, a modem within that box. You can run a UI on the screen or user interface on the screen, and they could see HBO Max.
Sure.
But the truth is that's not a long-term solution. It's very custom and very expensive. That's what dealing with a lot of these legacy systems with banks is like. Whereas from the Mambu side, you're kind of more of like a Roku or a Fire TV stick, where you can just quickly download and delete apps as you kind of go, and as new apps come out like a Peacock or something like that, you can quickly download it instead of having a complete custom installation.
Absolutely. And I don't think people realize, I know they don't realize how many hundreds of millions of dollars that banks spend to give them a very pretty easy user interface when it comes to online banking or when it comes to treasury management services. And those costs are passed on to customers, whether they realize it or not. Somebody's paying for that.
Yeah, it's very expensive if I go to Seaside and I open up just a checking account. It costs a lot of money for me to have that checking account year over year for your institution.
No doubt. Absolutely. And so you're actually passing a cost savings on to banks when they utilize your service, and they don't have to spend that money on their software developers and everyone inventing a technology. You don't have to reinvent the wheel because you guys have already created it.
Exactly. You kind of hit it perfectly there. It's all about being nimble and agile and being able to kind of create products on the fly with a low code environment. And that's really what Mambu offers.
That's wonderful. Yeah. If people want to learn more about Mambu, where can they find it?
They can find us at mambu.com. Yeah.
Simple enough.
Yeah. Yep.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you guys would like to learn more about Mambu and us here over at Buzz TV, you can join us at jacksonvillebuzz.com. I'm your host, Jesse Stakes, and we'll catch you guys next time.